Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Strong Collectors Podcast. I'm your host, Dakota, and today we're going to be taking a look at a leaks list for Mafex figures. So if you don't want any spoilers, feel free to tune out now. We have a video that you can go back and watch of official announced figures, but this is, I believe, an older leaked list, but there's still quite a few on the list that we haven't seen yet. So we're going to kind of go through those, and there's quite a few on this list that have come out, so that makes it seem like a more substantial list, but we have been duped once. Don't take this for 100% fact, but this seems like a very credible source. This was actually given to us by one of our listeners. Now, this leaks list comes to us from one of our listeners, and they, I think, took, it seems like a screenshot of a screenshot of a screenshot. And it originally, I think, came from Seamer_toypix. I'm not sure exactly who that is. No disrespect if you're a big deal. Sorry. But anyway. But some of the figures that Mafex has officially announced from this leaks list, quick rundown of that, is a movie Batman, Steel, Superboy, Eradicator, Nightfall Batman, Jim Lee Magneto, a Scarlet Spider Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2099, comic Daredevil, a comic Captain America, and then also on this leaks list, but that just was announced recently, is a Jim Lee Rogue. Now let's get into some of the leaks that have not come true yet. So we're going to start out with DC, and then we're going to switch over to Marvel. So first on the list for DC, and again, I don't know what order these are going to be coming out in, so we're just going to kind of go through whatever the order is here, and then we'll see as they come out, when they come out. Mafex usually only puts out a few figures for Marvel and DC per year, or at least, it's not like nearly what Marvel Legends is putting out, so this may take a year or more. And we've already seen some like product shots or, test shots or whatever they call them of other figures like the AOA, Wolverine, and stuff like that. So those aren't a part of this list either. But the first one on the DC side of the list is a Tim Drake Robin, and this is from the Hush story. So we've gotten a couple of Hush Batmans, Poison Ivy, Superman, quite a few from that Hush line. And this Tim Drake, although it's, specifically from Hush, this is pretty much what I would expect my Tim Drake Robin to look like. So this one, very tempted. Tim Drake is my favorite Robin. Very high chance I pick this up. We'll wait until we see what it looks like in person, but I very much would love to have a really good Tim Drake Robin. Next up on that list is a Green Arrow. Doesn't say from what. So maybe it would be classic. Maybe it'd be a little bit more modern. Not 100% sure there. So we can do some speculating. This one is one that I could see Jordan being a little bit more interested in because he's been really getting into the Green Arrow stories. He's really liked the Longbow Hunter storyline. Me, I like Green Arrow, but it's probably not one of those figures that I'm going to shell out for a Mafex unless he's super cool. I just don't see it for myself, but I'm going to see if I can talk Jordan into it. Next up on the list that I don't think either of us have a lot of interest in is the Dark Knight Returns Mutant Leader. This is that bigger mutant that has kind of that Cyclops visor on. I think Mezco did a version of him, which I never have seen before. I did a search beforehand to see if there was any pictures of him up. That's the first time I've ever seen the Mezco version. So I don't know if that was like an exclusive or something, but not a very popular character at least. I don't think a lot of people are going to want this, but at the same time, they have been doing those other Dark Knight Returns figures. So I guess if you need them to fill out that shelf, I wonder if we're going to get some regular mutants to have some army builders. But then that seems like if you're going to get a Mafex for an army builder, that's an expensive army. So time will tell there. Then we've got Damian. This I would assume is a Damian Wayne Robin. That one I think is going to be more geared towards Jordan. Jordan really, I think that's his favorite Robin. Although Jordan really likes his classics, so maybe he would lean more towards a Dick Grayson. Although recently he's just really been hyping up Damian Wayne in a lot of our rankings or things like that. So I don't know. I think he would like a Damian Wayne figure. And the last two on the DC side of the list, and these are the two that I'm most excited for, and that is an electric blue Superman and an electric red Superman. So McFarlane is putting these out currently. I should be getting my, I assume it's a blue one. Maybe I get lucky and it's a platinum red, but I should be getting mine tomorrow, which means by the time you're watching this, it'll be a couple days ago. That blue one is going to be kind of common, but then the red one is going for 85 plus in the secondary market right now. Maybe I get lucky and I find one. I'm not going to be paying $85 for it, so we'll see, because if I can't get both of them, do I really want the blue one? I don't know. I'll probably keep it just because. But I have the DC UC red and blue Electric Superman. So it'd be cool if I could get the McFarlane and then the Mafex versions. Again, there's a little bit of a like hang up of usually if it's got a cloth cape, then it's kind of a no-brainer. This is going to be totally worth it, the best version you can get. It's still a better figure than anything that McFarlane's going to put out, even though it doesn't have the soft goods. So I could see where maybe you're like, I'll just stick with the cheaper version. It's $25 from a McFarlane versus, probably more like $65 to $100 for a Mafex, depending on the time you pre-order it. I probably am going to shell out for these two just because this is my favorite versions of Superman. And then I'm going to have a whole bunch of Mafex Supermans because I'm going to get all the like the Eradicator, Superboy, Cyborg Superman. I just need to find myself a classic Superman. So we'll see. That is the DC side of the list. Now let's shift gears over to Marvel. The first one on the list is an MCU Hulk. We don't know exactly which MCU movie this is from, but I would assume it's just going to be that classic, like torn up pants and then the Hulk. There's different versions where maybe we get him in the time travel suit, but that seems odd because then you'd have to do all those other figures in those versions of the suit. I think they'd probably stick with just a classic, like Avengers 1 look. You could do the Gladiator version, but that seems way too deluxe for a Mafex because they haven't done a big figure, I don't think, like Hulk or Thing. So it'll be cool to see something on this, I would assume, bigger body, and then what they could do with that in the future, even if that's just like the product size of the box, because like I said, we could then maybe get a Thing or different versions of the Hulk. One of my favorite characters is Red Hulk, so if they do a Red Hulk, probably going to have to get that. But then the next one on the list is a Jim Lee Beast, and I think a lot of people are going to be excited for that because the Marvel Legends Beasts are a little bit harder to find. I think you can find the Caliban Wave one is a little bit cheaper right now, but it doesn't come with all the bells and whistles that the retro card one comes with. That one's a little bit more expensive. I don't know if that was just kind of when they started like lessening the distribution or what, but that one's, I don't know, it's going more than retail, but it's still not insane. It's not going to be as much as a Mafex, but will the Mafex one give you that crazy articulation that you want out of your Beast? I don't know. Will it come with a cloth goods lab coat like the Marvel Legends one does, but this one's going to have wires in it probably be a lot better. I don't know. For me, I'm probably going to stick with my Legends one just because I'm not getting the rest of the Jim Lee versions of the X-Men from Marvel, so we'll see. I'm tempted because the articulation would be very nice, but I don't think I need them. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And then sticking with the Jim Lee theme, we have a Jim Lee Nightcrawler. Now this one I will probably be getting because Nightcrawler is one of my favorite X-Men, and he's really one of those acrobatic characters, kind of like Spider-Man, where you really want to get him in all those crazy poses. I think it would be super cool if they either had a extra tail or somehow the tail could really easily hold a third sword. I think a lot of people are trying to do that kind of pose since X-Men 97 when he did that in the show. I really hope this one comes with like all the bells and whistles. I mean, I don't really need tons of heads and hands as long as he's got maybe some fists and some hands to grip his swords. Hopefully there's 3 swords. If not, I'll just add in a Legends sword. Probably a bendy wire tail, I would assume, maybe. I'm not sure how they would do any BAF effects, but that would be cool if we could get some like teleporting clouds in there. That seems unlikely, but I've seen some pretty cool custom ones, so might have to find one of those. Next up on the Jim Lee X-Men is going to be an Iceman. And this one, for me, there's not really a great Legends one. There are Legends Iceman figures that do the job, but I just don't think that Legends has done the best one they could do yet. I think Mafex obviously would do a great job on the first try they do. Maybe he'd be a little translucent-y. Probably, I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do for a paint job on him because I think it'd be cool. But then Iceman feels like a character that you need that ice slide with. So if he's not coming with the ice slide, maybe that's a deterrent for you. I don't know. I might lean towards the cheaper one on this one, although this X-Men list is really tempting me now. But I also don't want to go back and get older ones. But I think they would re-release all those older ones like Cyclops and Wolverine and those kind of characters at some point. And then we're going to stick with the Jim Lee theme for a little longer here. 2 more to go. These 2 are going to be deluxe. The first deluxe Jim Lee X-Men figure is going to be an Archangel. Now, up until now, I've done a good job of not getting any Marvel Mafexes, but so far on this list, I for sure, well, again, I say for sure, I'm assuming that these are going to be kind of what I'm imagining, but I'm really tempted to get an Archangel and a Nightcrawler. Those are, again, 2 of my favorite X-Men, and the next one on the list is going to be my other favorite X-Men, so let's just get to him, and that's Colossus. Archangel and Colossus are going to be deluxes, and like I said, I don't know if Mafex has done deluxes, but then I'm also a little confused because the MCU Hulk doesn't say a deluxe, so is he going to be normal size, just shrunk? I don't know. Either way, I want Archangel and Colossus. They're going to be deluxe, so what that means, I'm not 100% sure. I would just assume larger than your other figures because you're going to have to fit in those metal wings, and then Colossus is obviously bigger. So I wonder if he's going to be a little bit more kind of upper body heavy, kind of like the comics are shown. Kind of like, I remember I had an old Toy Biz figure that just had a very like Dorito shaped upper body. I would love that. Going to be an expensive, whenever this comes out, year or 2 years from now. Very excited though. And then next up on the list, we're leaving the Jim Lee X-Men behind us now, and we're moving into the Spider-Man world, and we're going to be getting, allegedly, a Black Cat. Doesn't say what storyline, but I would assume this is going to be kind of your classic Black Cat. I would assume we're going to get an unmasked head with it. Usually, Mafex will throw in at least one alternate head. Probably going to get like a whip effect, probably a wired whip. Lots of hands. I think this one is going to be one that a lot of folks are going to be excited for because Marvel Legends has the retro Black Cat, which I think is most people's go-to, but a lot of people are wanting an update, which I think we're going to get. And honestly, I think we'll probably see a Marvel Legends updated Black Cat before we get this Mafex version, but still kind of one of those characters that you want to be super nimble, but I don't know if it's popular enough for very many people to want to spend that extra money to get a Mafex. Leave me a comment down below on what you think of that, but I just don't see that being a super hot seller for Mafex, but I do think a lot of people are going to like it. Then we move into a comic version of the Winter Soldier. Now we had gotten a movie version of the Winter Soldier, which I think I saw some people were interested in, but really not a lot of hype and buzz around that one. I think the comic version would probably do a little better, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased because I like my comic figures more. I wonder if this would be kind of that darker Winter Soldier, kind of when he first comes around, or if it'd be, I don't know, I feel like Legends did a kind of more, I don't know, not like a bright and happy Winter Soldier, but just a little bit brighter. I don't know. If you're watching on screen, you can see the pictures I'm putting up of that one. I don't know. That one just gives me a little bit more happy vibes versus what I would assume would be a darker vibe that most people would want from Winter Soldier. Maybe that's just me. And then going back to Spider-Man, this is going to be a comic version of Spider-Man. It says 2.0. I don't know exactly what that means. Probably just going to be your classic red and blue Spider-Man. Maybe they're going to add some sort of new, better articulation here. But I mean, like they did the Hush black version of Batman and then the Hush blue version of Batman. It could just be a slight repaint with different accessories thrown in there. Maybe you're going to get a backpack instead of whatever other accessories you got with the old one. I think a lot of people really like that previous classic Spider-Man that came out. So for anyone that missed that, this is going to be a good opportunity. Although I don't think that one's going for crazy aftermarket money. But again, by the time this one comes out, it may have been creeping up all that time that now people are going to be really wanting that classic look again. And then last up on the list, and I think this one is going to be desirable, but at the same time, a little disappointing. And that's going to be a Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. Now, it doesn't say deluxe, so I would assume that there's not going to be any sort of bike included in this. I think if it was going to have the bike included, it would be designated to say deluxe or something. This makes me think it's just going to be the figure. But you could always go back and get the Marvel Legends bike and pose him with that. I don't think that we would see another re-release of this figure in a deluxe because they've done the Dark Knight Returns Batman and then they did the Dark Knight Returns Batman with the horse, and the horse was just kind of a statue, which is really all the bike needs to be. It doesn't really need to be moving or anything like that, because you're not going to be, rolling this around on your table. It's a little bit more expensive. You're probably just going to set it on the shelf and pose it. The only thing that really tempts me about this one is I would assume he's going to come with some pretty sick chains. The Marvel Legends chains, they're fine for what they are. I just think that Mafex could really blow them out of the water with the accessories. Again, your Ghost Rider probably doesn't need to be crazy articulated like a Mafex really is. I think the Legends one is going to be fine for me. I am interested to see what they do with it, though. I think it could be cool. I just think without the bike, it may be a little bit harder of a sell. Although with the bike, it would probably be pretty expensive, kind of like that Mezco one. I think that Mezco one looks awesome. I just think it's way out of the price range of anything I'm ever going to look at. Let me know down in the comments which of these you're excited for. What are your thoughts on some of these figures? Have you seen this leaks list? Am I just that late to the party? This is old news to everybody else. And again, if you wanted to go back and watch our video with the official reveals, announcements, schedule of figures that we know for sure are coming, you can go back and watch that. Otherwise, make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing. And until next time, stay strong.